So, hello and welcome to the Human Behind the Career Brand podcast. I'm the host, Jeanette Walton. I'm a career brand consultant and a Humans Matter champion, committed to helping others deep dive into their many human facets that make them unique, fabulous beings. Research is indicating that humans more than ever are craving human connection across both professional and broader consumer contexts. And that's despite and maybe even because of the onslaught of AI and other digital technologies. So my primary mission with this podcast is to inspire each of us to value and appreciate our multifaceted strengths, experiences, offerings, and stories, both as professionals and as human beings, and to highlight that those human stories and connections will always matter, both personally and professionally. So I'm really excited to introduce my next guest for this podcast series, Natasha Moszenin. In addition to her many years of contributing to student advancement in the education sector for a range of universities and colleges, Tasha has been involved in musical theatre as a composer, songwriter and a director. She's a graduate of the Australian NIDA and some other major performing arts institutions, and she's been creating music and songs for both theatre companies and community-based projects for over 20 years. In 2012, she started to write and produce works with her own mission or message. So this includes the Insomnia Project, a Sleepless Cabaret, and the jazz cabaret Nightsongs. All of these compositions explore common human health issues such as insomnia and the corresponding symptoms such as anxiety and restlessness. To keep herself busy during the COVID pandemic, Natasha recorded a debut CD of 10 original songs entitled Sleepless Daughters. And this is a tribute to her own personal experience of insomnia and her awareness that many suffer from anxiety and depression due to a lack of sleep. After a valuable life lesson in 2024 when trying to kick off a return season of the previously well-received Nightsongs, that it's essential to have a committed support team to get it over the line, Natasha decided to go solo on future musical works. So she now creates solo jazz piano versions of her songs with a photographer and film editor helping her to create the relevant music videos. Her first one of these is entitled The Night Piano, and I doubt it's going to be the last based on Natasha's passion for meaningful music. So welcome, Natasha. It's such a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, Jeanette. It's amazing. Thank you.
So firstly, I'd just like to get an idea of how you first got into musical theatre and why it has remained such a strong passion of yours.
I started studying piano when I was very young, and, that was all about the classical genre and those sort of AMEB exams and all that sort of thing. But I think at a certain point in life, when I was quite a mature person, I suppose, I realized that I had to tell my own stories through
Love
song
that.
and music. Yeah. So that's where that started. And that first one you mentioned in the bio, the Insomnia Project, I thought that was a great starting point. Insomnia is an issue many people have.
It is.
But I thought that apart from just being a medical problem, it's actually our minds and bodies and hearts telling us stories. And those ideas form the basis of the songs and the texts in that work.
Lovely. How lovely. So when you say it's, does that cause a sleeplessness, do you think, when we have these stories going on in our minds and bodies? And
I think so, but a psychologist would call it ruminating,
yes, ruminating. Yes,
or
yes. Okay.
obsessing it, something. But my job, I suppose, in creating this was to transform that raw material into forms that audiences could relate to. So it's not just me, me, me. You have to make it a little bit more abstract and sort of, change things a bit so that people go, I understand that. Or yes, I can feel that, So, yeah.
The power of music, yes, to move us and inspire us and inform us. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Love that. Absolutely love that. And how do you think producing musical theatre benefits you personally?
Well, first of all, it's it's very hard work being an
Yeah, it is.
independent artist because you're a one-person team in a way, because I wrote it and directed it, but I also had to pull together the cast, find a venue, or because the first season of the Insomnia Project was done at the Gallery 314, which is at the Uniting Church in Richmond. They were very generous and gave us the space for a week. And then I managed to interest La Mama Theatre, and they gave us a return season, which was fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. So this is pre-COVID, yes?
Yes, this is
Yes.
pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what sort of impact do you think it had on audiences that came to watch and listen? Yeah.
People told me that one audience member said, "Oh, you totally nailed how it feels to not sleep because you go
Yeah.
through all these phases of it. Like you argue, you're sort of saying, 'Please let me sleep,' and you get angry, and then you get frustrated. You walk around the house a lot, you read, you listen to music, you try and meditate, you do all these things. But the hardest thing of all is acceptance. And I found that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, there's so many messages about how if you don't sleep, your health will suffer greatly.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And I think that only makes people feel worse because you're lying there thinking, oh, if I don't sleep, I'm not going to be able to do my presentation or look after my children or drive my car. So, yeah, you're kind of
That's
behind the eight
so
ball.
true.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah. It is really heavily focused on the importance of sleep.
yeah.
And has that been a long-term problem for you, insomnia?
Yes, it has. I have had insomnia since I was 15, actually.
Wow.
On and off in different amounts. But without wanting to go into all this, but there's a strong kind of family history around these things, I often find.
So it can be hereditary,
Not just hereditary, it's also possibly a reaction to what's
family
going on
dynamics.
around you, uh,
Yeah, okay,
and
okay.
your relationships and the energy and the kind of dynamics and you know, yeah, I
Yeah,
think insomnia is a symptom rather than a cause.
okay, yeah. And, doing this musical theatre work, has that helped your insomnia?
Well, you you get sleepless for different reasons. The other piece you mentioned, the night songs, what the sort of development of that was that I thought, well, the first one, the Insomnia Project, was fantastic. It was a great experience. I loved writing it and doing it. But then I realized that, we had a set of three beds and a big armchair because there were four characters in it, all separate but interacting in the same room. So it was like four separate stories of the night without sleep. How does that feel? And
Yeah,
there was a digital clock at the back telling us that it was 2 a.m., 3 a.m., a.m. So that passage of time is, I think, what people experience. You do look at the clock. You
God,
do
yeah.
count down to when the alarm's going to go. So that adds to the tension and the pressure. But I thought for the second piece that I did, I thought, no, we're just going to have three bar stools where people can sit or stand to sing, and there won't be any furniture, and it will be much more portable. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay, okay. It's such a I mean, I don't think I've ever had insomnia, but I've certainly have sleepless nights. I think it's something that just about any human can relate to,
of
yeah?
course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah. And what about if we think about your other profession as an educator?
Mm.
How do you think producing musical theatre benefits you professionally?
I think the two in my life sit together really well because one of the first, and you'd appreciate this whole idea of transferable skills.
Oh, of course I would. Haha.
As a producer, you're responsible for organizing everything. And that's what an educator does. We organize
Yes,
activities, we
yes.
organize our students or our actors, and we set a timeline, we set an end result, goal, and a process. So that they can run parallel really beautifully. Yeah,
And you're involved in the design, like you do curriculum design, yeah?
that's
So
right.
you're
Which
involved in
is,
you
yeah,
design like you would with a musical
with a
theatre
script
works,
and a
yeah?
score. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're creating the story and narrative that is followed. So,
And do you think it, has any impact professionally in terms of, your patience with students or
think
your relatability?
I think what I've realized is that teaching is 3/4 theatre and 1/4 preparation.
Never heard that before.
Because you
Explain that one to me.
okay, so as communicators, and I think teaching, directing, performing are all communicative pursuits.
Yeah,
And then as I teach my EAL students at university, why do we communicate? Well, we want to inform, we want to motivate, inspire, give information. So teachers do all those things. So do artists. Um, yeah.
yep.
So
Yep,
that's,
yep, that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've never heard that perception of education before. Okay, I like to do a little bit of research before each of these podcasts, about your passions and interests. So some I've noticed online have argued that the societal importance of musical theatre cannot be overstated, in that it enriches culture, enhances education, bolsters economies, and strengthens communities. Do you agree with this argument, and why?
well, I think art, and by that I mean all creative arts, whether it's figurative, visual, music, whatever, are absolutely crucial for a start. And people, Australians, spend a lot of money on the arts, like those really big musicals that come to Melbourne, they're
I
always,
spend a lot of money on them.
yeah, a lot of, they're fantastic. I can't afford them, but, a lot of people do. But
Yeah.
it's really great that they're being written. So, yes, it does bolster the economy, I suppose, but more importantly, we really need storytelling. That's if you look at how much streaming we do, Netflix or whatever, yeah, humans need story.
Yeah, yeah. And going to theatre brings you together as well, doesn't it? Like you're
Mm.
not just sitting at home watching TV, it brings people together too. So that maybe that's the strengthening communities as well, yeah?
Yeah, and the same with live music shows too. But
Yeah,
then
yeah,
there's a lot of competition for that from online entertainment. So.
yeah, yeah, of course there is. Yeah. What would you say is your all-time favourite musical theatre production outside of your own works?
This is something that I saw many, many, many years ago and was so inspiring. And I've always thought, to be that skilled, to have that
That good.
vision, to be able to realize that work is extraordinary. The American composer Philip Glass, who's been in the news recently about pulling his symphony out of the so-called Trump Kennedy Center as a protest, which I think is extraordinarily brave and
Especially
kudos to him.
in this climate. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he wrote his first big music theatre/opera work was called Einstein on the Beach. I've seen it here in Melbourne twice. It is phenomenal. So, yeah, that's definitely my favourite.
And is that something that keeps coming to Australia? Or
No,
is it
no, I would
no?
say that you will never see it again. It's a 4-hour piece.
Right, I'm gonna have to Google it or something or
Yeah,
YouTube it.
the audience were allowed to walk in and out as they felt, so that was a
Oh, that's different.
very innovative idea, which is great because it makes for a more relaxed experience, like if
Yeah.
you
Is that
force
what you particularly loved? Is that what you particularly loved about it, or was there other
what, that I
elements?
could walk in and out. No,
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't want to walk out, I didn't want to leave, but the fact that you could just meant everyone could just chill a bit. Yeah.
Um, what would you define as your main superpower as a musical theatre producer?
I suppose the act of creation, and that sounds a bit too sort what I mean by that is sitting down at the piano or with my lyric notebook and having that spark, that impulse that you have to follow. That is the best thing of all. When I was recording my jazz piano works last year and the year before, I was saying to a friend that I did a ton of practice, like to the point where it was just dominating my life day and night. But when you get into the room with the grand piano and the recording engineers in another space, there's just you and him over there. It's like communing. It's like a sacred space of creativity, surrender. I'm getting quite emotional even thinking about it.
Oh, that's really lovely.
But yeah, that is the best part. The kind of the spark that makes it start. It's what you have to
Yeah.
commit to. That is the best part of all. I mean, audience reactions and reviews, all great and fine, but
It's
it
what it
all
does to
boils,
you internally. Yeah.
yeah, that is like, yeah.
This might sound a bit woo-woo, but would you say when you're creating the content, like on the piano, do you let it come to you, the inspiration? Is it something you let flow,
Well, this is
or
interesting.
is it more methodical than that?
It can have to be, well, often has to be very methodical in that you have to do, excuse me, you have to put in the hour, you have to put in the work,
Yeah,
you have to sit there and sit there and sit there till the
that's playing
right
the piano, isn't it?
till the right chord goes with the right note, till the right
Yeah,
syllable
okay.
goes with the right note, you know. Um, that's very time consuming. And I know now that you can get generative AI to give you 1,000 versions of something and you go, yeah, I'll pick that one. But I don't want this to be a discussion about that. But for me, that struggle is what makes it
Part of the
worthwhile.
experience, isn't it?
Mm, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, human effort and human endeavour.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what makes you emotional, the work you put into it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What would you might have just touched on this to some degree, but what would you say are the parts or processes when producing musical theatre that you particularly enjoy? Is it that tinkering? I say tinkering, it sounds like it's a lot more heavy duty than that, but is it that practicing on the piano or
Yeah, it's that sort of sculpting, that molding of the idea, that sort of molding it, but then allowing it to take its own form. All that is lovely. It's also beautiful to rehearse with other performers, like when you're working with actors and singers to sort of hear it on their voice, in their body, and explore the whole thing about how you approach the lyrics in a song. They're actually a character's journey. So the singer has to take that on. And we do a lot of text analysis, like what does the character want in this phrase? What do they want in this verse? And how does that inform the way it's embodied and the way it's delivered? Yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
so what kind of energy do you bring to that line? How do you articulate this? It becomes very body based, but that is what an audience responds to. When you watch a
yeah,
singer, it's the ones who are kind of fully in there that people,
connect to the audience, yeah? It's pretty special, isn't it?
yeah,
I'm just thinking of one of my favourite musicals, which is Hamilton. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've not seen that.
Yeah, I don't imagine that was done overnight by the sounds of it. That's taken a lot of work, yeah? Lot of work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what would you say are the main challenges when producing musical theatre?
Having enough energy, passion, and most of all, grit to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yep.
learn to swim by myself. And sometimes you just say to yourself, oh, there's all these, thin, silt young people around you splashing and swimming, but I just have to keep going. And that's what you have to do in anything worthwhile. You just keep going,
Keep
one foot in
treading
front of the
water.
other, one chord after
Yeah.
another, one lyric.
I imagine if you started playing the piano when you were young, that would have taught you discipline. I mean, the piano is one of my all-time favourite instruments to listen to. I wish I could play it, but it takes a lot of practice in the beginning, doesn't it? A lot of discipline, yeah?
Well, the discipline is imposed on you at 9 years
Yeah.
old. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until I sort of became a lot older that the motivation became intrinsic rather than extrinsic. So
Right.
now it's a balance. It's intrinsic in that I desperately want to do practice every day, but extrinsic in that, yes, I have a recording coming up. Yes, I have a show coming up and I cannot
Yeah.
disappoint people.
But you love what you do, yeah? And that's what really matters, isn't it?
I do, but I have to be careful also when I was practicing for last year's recording, I had been sick, and instead of saying, "It's okay to postpone for a couple of weeks," I thought, "No, no way. I'm gonna go in there. I don't care. I'm just gonna do this." So sometimes it can actually drive you a bit mad.
So maybe you love it a little too much
Maybe,
sometimes.
maybe. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
And now I've got visions of Mozart in the Amadeus movie, how
I know.
crazy he was with his.
Wish.
Not quite that extreme. Yeah, exactly. I mean, freakish talent. So, with that in mind, have you ever questioned why you continue to produce musical theatre? I imagine when you were unwell, you might have, but have there been any other moments?
Think I can't imagine my life without writing music, practicing, learning more and more about jazz harmony. Yeah.
And that's important too, to keep learning as well,
Oh,
isn't it?
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Keep learning,
subscribed.
keep fine tuning. Because you
That's
are a beautiful pianist. I have heard you play, but you can continue to enhance what you do. Yeah.
absolutely. I think there's a Zen saying, in the expert's mind, there are few possibilities, but in the beginner's, there are many.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's a good
I
philosophy for
like
all
to
our lives, isn't it?
Yeah, I like to keep beginner's mind uppermost because I think without curiosity, you won't learn.
Yeah. Yep, 100% curiosity. Yeah, that's been coming through in some of my other podcast chats. It's so important to stay curious. And what would you say has been your most successful production to date?
Probably, I'd say Nightsongs because we've done it a few times. We did it at the Butterfly Club. Do you remember the Butterfly Club was
No, I don't. Where was
yeah,
that?
it's a cabaret. Well, I think it's closed now, but it was a cabaret venue in the middle of town off Little Collins
Right.
Street. Yeah, we did it there.
I don't get out much, so I know I don't.
We did it there
Sadly.
in 2018. Then we got invited to La Mama and did it there. Then
Wow, I know La Mama.
and then we got invited for a paid job at the Wedge Performing Arts Centre in Sale in regional Victoria. We
I
took
know where that is. I've got a
Yeah,
friend who lives up that way. I know
it's
where
a
that is.
great
Yeah.
venue, so we did it
On
there.
the main road, yeah?
That's right, yeah, it's a really good
Yeah.
space with a beautiful
And
grand
that was a paid
a
gig.
paid gig, yeah, and we also did it at the MC Showroom, which is another cabaret venue in Pran.
Okay,
So
okay. So it had a good run. This is
it has
pre-COVID,
had a
yes?
good run, and
Yeah.
quite a few of those songs were recorded for Sleepless Daughters, my CD.
Uh-huh.
And now some of those songs are now jazz piano solos in the video. So there are like iterations of the same thing, which I think is
So
really
when
exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people were to buy your CD, for instance, Sleepless Daughters, what's the intention behind that? Is the intention to help people to understand their insomnia better and perhaps be able to deal with it better, or yeah.
Point in time, capturing a particular emotion, a particular place in time to do with not being able to sleep, but then how does it feel? What does it remind us of? What do we think about when we're alone at night in the darkness? That's,
Yes.
yeah.
So it's for reflection
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
resonating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
right.
Yeah. Okay. So I've just got a couple more questions that I ask at the end of every podcast, so bear with me with these two. So the first one sounds a bit dramatic, but it's about trying to get you to delve a little deeper. If the world and your life was to end tomorrow, what would your reflection be on how being involved in musical theatre has helped you to live a more fulfilling life?
I think I'd be so grateful that I was able to sit and do my practice and I had that experience. That's what I'd be most grateful for, that I had the experience of creating these songs and that music and that show.
The experience and the talent, might I add to that?
Well, it's
As I
hard
say, I've
work.
heard you play. You're a beautiful pianist. So yeah, it's a
Thank you.
talent. Lastly, this one's a bit indulgent for me as a career brand
No,
consultant.
go for it.
What would your ideal career branding be to convey you as a multidimensional human who produces musical theatre in addition to delivering education? So I guess if we think, what would be the core brand elements that show that you've got these two complementary
Wow.
experiences and skills?
I think something about communicate I mean, I haven't
Yeah,
got it down pat,
communication for
right?
sure.
So,
Yeah.
probably something like communicating through words and sound to
Yes.
speak truth.
Yes.
Is that all right?
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful. And creativity. Like it's creativity as well. And creativity is required for both, isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
right.
How to engage your audiences in both contexts.
Well, absolutely. I mean, with my students, you always have to find new ways to kind of
Mm.
change an activity. So, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that curiosity plays a part as well, yeah?
that's right. Yeah.
So before we wrap this up, is there anything in particular you'd like to promote from your musical theatre works or your CD, like where people can access these things?
Sure. I have a Bandcamp page, and if you go to Natasha Moszenin Bandcamp, that will bring you to where the CD is. You can listen to the tracks, buy tracks separately or the whole thing. You can see the night piano videos and listen to it. And then I have a YouTube channel called Natasha Moszenin Music, which has a lot of my songs on it with videos I've made and as well as the night piano. You can
Yeah,
find
yeah,
me there.
lovely. Lovely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Natasha, for
Oh,
coming
thank
on to the Human
you.
Behind the Career Brand. It's been such a beautiful discussion, yeah.
Thank you.
You've made me better understand the work that goes on behind the scenes with this musical
Sure.
theatre that we all so many of us enjoy. I don't think we really appreciate the
Yeah.
effort that
Oh,
goes and the
thank
creativity
you.
that goes into it.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's great to talk to someone who's got, an open ear and yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Cool.